Oh, hello, my educator family. Let me welcome you to another Analysis Thursday. We are in the month of Adaptable August. Can you believe that August is almost at an end? Yes, it is. We have just one more feature to go. And we are doing Adaptable August in light of the fact that the pandemic came. And as school leaders, different school leaders, they had to make different choices. They had to lead differently. There are different things that they had to do to man the business of education and to ensure that teaching and learning occurred within their space. And so we thought it best that we could feature some of our leaders. They would share their experiences with us and also give us tips that can be utilized in other settings. Whether you are a principal, a vice principal, team leader, senior manager, whomever you are, even a teacher, you can utilize it. So on Sunday, even though our recording came out late, but we had Everton Tyndale. He is the principal of Porus Infant, but it has been nicknamed Porus Infant High Secondary. No, Porus Infant Primary and Secondary because of the level of leadership that they receive. And so us for our Analysis Thursday is Mrs. Ricarty, who is also an educational leader herself, being vice principal acting, let me correct that, at Frankfield Primary and Infant in Manchester. And so she's here to do our analysis and to go through, pick out some main points and have a discourse on the matter. Welcome once again, Mrs. Carty. Thanks for joining us. And I'm looking forward to this presentation this evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mrs. Boswell-Lewis. It has been a wonderful opportunity sharing with the Edu family this past month. Thank you for having me, right?
Thank you.
I listened to Mr. Tyndale and I'm so happy. I'm so happy that education continues in the infant division. You know, oftentimes we say, oh, they're young, let us leave them alone. But I do believe that the foundation is important. And if you build a house, no matter what material, and the foundation is weak, then it makes absolutely no sense. The house will fall. And I'm happy that the family there, the team there at Porus Infant Primary and Secondary did an excellent job as they moved through the year online, right? I would have noted this week that on the get-go, Mr. Tyndale shared that the goals, the roles were clearly outlined for all the stakeholders. And that is very important because if we do not know where we're going, we'll be everywhere. And he pointed out that everyone, the goals, all the roles, what we ought to be doing was outlined clearly for not just the teachers, but the parents, and the board was indeed on board with all of this. And I think that was excellent. What do
Yes,
you think?
indeed, it was. I think it was. It was very. I got goose pimples when I listened in to the discourse. Um, it is always said communication. We can't go around that. As a leader, you have to be communicating. You will have the vision, you have the mission, you have the outline, but you have to be communicating. And this takes me back to when we did a course that spoke to you lead people and you manage resources. So a lot of leaders have it wrong that, okay, I'm managing my team, I'm managing the people. No, you manage the resources that you have and you lead the people by your example. And this was clear based on the discourse that Principal Tyndale shared with us. And let me say this, Edu family, that when I went to the comment section, there were parents there who said, yes, he has been doing an awesome job, and this is indeed factual. So again, hats off to Porus Infant.
Oh, certainly. I also checked the comments during this week leading up to today. And I did see that. And it's wonderful. You can see the stakeholder involvement. And that is what you need, because it brings me to the point that Mr. Tyndale, he pointed out, I believe, that parental involvement is the key to the education. He had his parents on board at odd times. Yes, he said that the teachers allowed the parents to be still sending in information and submitting information because they had chosen the WhatsApp group, you know. But he said that the parents were feeding, they were on board, and it was amazing because after all, as teachers, as educators, we cannot do it alone. And it was wonderful that he had the parents on board for this the duration of the school year. I must share too, Mrs. Boswell-Lewis, that Mr. Tyndale tapped into partnerships with his stakeholders. And his stakeholders did not just involve the parents and the board members, but he went outside. He had also business persons, friends of Porus, right? The past students were there as well, the PTA, various persons were there. And I love the fact that he could identify with his staff members some needs that the parents had. So point three then is that they looked at the needs that persons had, and before you could even cater to the academics, they took care of the physical needs that the persons have. So both of those points together. One, he tapped into the stakeholders to provide for some needs, and these needs they were able to identify, whether it be tablets, whether it be data, whether it be food, care packages. They were able to partner with these persons to get the needs taken care the persons, the school families needs taken care of.
Mrs. Curtis, I like when he said he is known as the beggar in chief or the chief beggar, because he was the one that was on the forefront, and they got million. He was on the front asking. He was like the PRO on the face, communicating, asking, getting the resources and different stuff that they needed to have, and so they were able to meet the needs. And I can safely say, as he did in his opening presentation, for educational leaders, if you have not yet signed up with NSTEL, you need to sign up with NSTEL. There are many different courses that they have.
Yes.
And I have been privy to being a part of these courses. You, Mrs. Tyndale, Largy, and Michael Jones. These are persons who have gone through NSTEL. And if you notice the passion there, and we took it from different levels. So we looked at a high school setting, how Principal VP Largy went about. We look at the primary school setting, how Auntie Michael Jones went about getting her stuff done. And we look at the infant level, seeing how Principal Tyndale got the job done. NSTEL is a place where when you go in, you cannot come back out the same way, because it forces you to think outside the box. And when you hear the discourse of these educational leaders, you'd have noticed, Edu Family, if you go back and you watch the videos, you'd have noticed that they use novel ways to reach their stakeholders. They use compassion, there was care, there was commitment. And this is what NSTEL boasts: transformational leadership. You cannot be leading if you are not at the front. You cannot be leading if you're not willing to take on new ideas and try new ways. And to me, when I heard it all, it summed it up that yes, indeed, we have to get to the place in our educational system where we're not bogged down by tradition, but we look at unconventional ways of ensuring that teaching and learning goes on.
That's true. That is so true, because I think all the presenters this month, they drove home the point that success is not built on one person. Success is a matter of teamwork, you see, and it's a result of everyone working together. So Tyndale pointed out that from the get-go, he had to empower his staff. He empowered them through various PD sessions, yes, organized by the school, but also tapping into what the Ministry of Education would have made available to the team. Because, and I noted too, that he utilized the WhatsApp platform, looking at the needs of his students at the school at the time. And so they chose that platform because of what the parents could utilize. And even so, yeah, I remember everything. All platforms have their limitations, but they worked with what they had. They were excited about what they had. And the empowered staff, oh my goodness. You could hear it in his voice. I could see it in the comments parents put in on the page, having viewed the video, that the parents are on board definitely, and they are happy for what is happening. And it is really, I was really impressed by what Tyndale is doing down there with his staff members.
Yes. And so I just want to say to Principal Tyndale, you're doing an excellent job. It is evident because the testimonies that came in the chat would have proven that, yes, you are doing these things and it is working, because the parents feel very much a part of what is going on. There are parents who said they have 2 children at the school, and they have learned through the pandemic, and it was just success all around. Education leaders, and I've been saying, we need to get to the point where we see best practices and adopt them and use them. So it should not be at the point now where we say, oh, he can go on, make him go on talk. No, you hear something, you see when it can work for you, pull it aside and use it. They've always said that teaching is the only profession where you can look in the book while you are teaching, while you are leading. You can go and research to see how can you tackle a particular problem to bring to bring healing. So the doctor, when you come in with the gunshot wound, him can't run up and down, go try to figure out at that point in time what is to be done. He must have known it before, because there's a life in front of him. But when you come to the classroom and you don't know something, you can always say, hey, I'll get back to you. Let us use this as a practice as we are going forward for the new school year, that we look at what has been done in other schools, and don't tell me that they can do it because they're this or they're that. Yes, we know that they can. There are some things that they can leverage on. They can get done because they may have greater participation or bigger school body or so on. But see how you can pull from it and use it in your context. Contextualization is key when you're leading. It won't work for everybody, but is there something from a presentation that we have been doing in Adaptable August that you can pull on and use it as you go out into the new school year? I'm sure there are many that you can pull on to utilize. So, Mrs. Carty, are you through with your discourse?
Let me point out that Mr. Tyndale, he did not hold back in sharing how appreciative he is of his staff. He recognized that they were dedicated, and he said it. He didn't hide and say it. And he didn't just talk about the teaching staff, he spoke about his ancillary staff. He spoke about his parents, and that is wonderful. If persons are doing a good job as school leaders, we need to say it. We need to say it out loud. You understand? It helps to boost morale. And also, I must point out that Tyndale brought home the important point that we must care. We must care about not just the professional needs of our teachers, but also the emotional and mental needs. And so he pointed out that, hey, sometimes I do a check-in. Sometimes I send an encouraging message, or you give a call. And we need to do that as educators. We must ensure that we check in with our staff members, not just to say, why aren't you at school today? But how is your family? How are you doing? And the virtual space is so different from face to face, and persons have their various challenges. So we can call, we can send a message and say, how did you manage with class today? How is it for you? What are your challenges? And just for them to know that here is someone who cares about my needs, not only about what is happening with my institution. So I believe that's something as educators we need to take from this.
Yes, indeed, I do agree that there's much that we can take from what is happening in different schools and we can utilize as we go forward.
Right.
You know, one of the things too is that when we look at leadership, we should not look at it as me and I approach. No, if you notice, all the presenters have spoken about cooperation, collaboration, stakeholders, parents, teachers, everyone makes up the pie. So yes, you are leading. And what leaders need to understand that when you motivate your staff, whether it's until admin or academic staff, and you boost their morale and they come up with ideas and they come up with different ways of dealing with things, it looks good on you, the leader. And one thing is for sure that when they go to presentation, you are the principal, you are presenting, so it looks good that, okay, at least you are motivating your staff to do things and not the other way around. So I truly believe that, you know, going forward, there needs to be a new dawn on leadership in Jamaica. NCL has started the mission, and I think more persons need to get on board and learn from what is happening around. Take on these professional courses. Sometimes they're even free. You don't pay. There was virtual instructional leadership that we did, and we didn't pay. I did strategic middle leadership initiative, and I didn't pay. And it was something that would help me as I go along in my area to assist as a middle manager, to assist those who I'm in charge of, or the different responsibilities that I have to do. So I think truly that we had a very good month of Adaptable August.
Yes.
And to top it all off, we will have none other than the lady in education herself, Dr. Tanisha Ingleton, who will give us a little charge as we close out the month on Sunday as to how it is going forward, what we need to do as school leaders. And we are all leaders. So whether you're a teacher, you're a leader. When you go to your class and the principal is not there with you, so you're a leader, and whatever you do, students are following, so that makes you a leader. So take on the tidbits that we have shared throughout the month. See how best you can apply them, contextualize them, and use them to empower your students, to lift Jamaica, to change education landscape, put it on a new agenda, a new way going forward, that we can have all the success that we truly, truly can have and deserve. So it is bye from me for Analysis Thursday, and it's bye too for Mrs. Tari Carty for our analysis until next week when we close out. Thank you so much, educators, for listening in. Don't be afraid to comment in the comment section. What were your leadership strategies that were utilized at your school? How was it for you with Adaptable August? What are your suggestions? Go ahead and comment, like, share, subscribe, whatever you need to do to keep this empowerment going. It's a free thing that we just say, listen, putting it together to assist the educational landscape in Jamaica. Share and like, subscribe, and look forward to seeing you in our different features that will be coming up. Thank you again, Mrs. Carty. Walk good, everyone. God bless.